It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cracked Crown, Season 2 of Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, today joined by the one, the only, the unforgettable, the lovable, the murderous Bub.
It's me, the lovable and murderous.
That's you. That's the way I think of you every day.
Oh, no.
Glad you're feeling better. You know, you were out for a little bit, feeling sick and so on, and had a dose of the COVID, which sucks, but I'm glad you bounced back. Some things have happened while you were gone, and where we left Duke last time, he was trying to figure out some things. So we're going to pick right back up kind of where we left Duke, maybe a few hours in the future. We'll see exactly what happens to him. But before we do any of that, thank you guys for listening. As always, if you guys want to support the show, the easiest ways to share it, tell people about it, talk about it, jump into our Discord, join the community, talk about the shows there. If you want to go above and beyond and really make sure these shows continue on, that's patreon.com/podbynight was where you can go do that. Get some cool, nifty little extras while also just directly supporting the show, because without you guys, we wouldn't even be doing a season 2 of this. But without let's get that out of the way. Now we're done, I'm ready to jump back in because we have some stuff for dear old Duke to figure out. So without further ado, let's set the scene, rein things in, and see where we left Duke last time. Duke. It has been over an hour since you saw the glimpse of a familiar coterie mate in a mirror. And as our vision, as the viewers come in and we only see your feet walking down a hallway of the 11th floor, looking at doors, double checking empty rooms, and holding up a neat set of notes in a... Do you keep what kind of notepad book does he keep on him at all times?
I think like a moleskin.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So yeah, you have that open. And we see your notes cross-referencing. You're flipping between pages of recently. You have mirrors written down, room numbers, things to anybody who didn't know what you were doing would look like a bout of insanity. And we hear the muted conversations of a few guests staying behind some doors and the soft thuds of Duke's heavy feet hitting the carpet at the slow pace. But at this particular point in time, Duke, as you look at the last door at the end of this hallway, nothing has made sense. You move to the hall and begin to walk down the stairs. Again, the 10th floor. You started at the very top and worked your way down. You do the same on the 10th, the 9th, the 6th, the 3rd, the 1st, until you get to the last place in this building that you've gone down. As you make your way to the basement, through the typical large rooms that you would expect of a building this size, of the furnace and the storage kept under here, plenty of pipes and creaking walls. Give me an intelligence academics.
That would be 5 successes.
What you find in the back is a small piece of wall that it sticks out because you have an eye for this kind of thing. You've been around things like this before, buildings of this age and so on through your many years of service, not only to Cesar, but to yourself and to Vera over time. There's a part of the concrete wall that looks off. There's a crack that seems to run around this, like a certain piece of it. And as you get closer, you realize that particular piece of the wall that's maybe, we'll say 10 feet wide, 7 feet tall, that is aged. It's older. You can just by looking at it and spending some time running your finger across it, it's coarser, it's seen more time. It just sits apart from the rest of the wall of just the basement of this place, as sticking out as just an older piece of building.
Wonder why they would save this.
You place your hand on it, I imagine, drag your finger across it. Do you do anything in particular?
So brick transference has a very difficult time maneuvering like thermodynamics for like heat and stuff like that. So how does it feel?
Much colder.
Much cooler. Okay. Are there any loose bricks? Is there mortar where it seems to be cracked or anything of that nature?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think I'm just going to try to chip away or to kind of peel away like one brick to see what I can kind of sense.
Sure, give me a Dex Athletics check for that.
Believe it or not, this is not a great roll for me.
Surprise, surprise.
1 success.
You only had a 1 dice in that total?
I have 1 in Dex and I have no athletics.
Damn. And it's a 10, so you give me another roll. Give me another D10. And a 1. Fantastic. It's inelegant. In fact, as you're trying to gently slide some of your large, meaty sausage fingers between the bricks and the crack in the wall, pieces of it actually crumble away. And it's not due to it's being old, being older as much as it's due to your inelegance and your accidental forcing your fingers into areas they shouldn't be. And as it falls away and you're able actually to get your finger back there, if inelegantly, you feel something a little surprising. You don't feel more brick, more wall, or even a hallway or emptiness. You feel cold steel.
Bizarre.
You are looking at like an inch crack that you've shoved your index finger in, and as you've wiggled it down to your first knuckle, you can feel what feels like cold steel, maybe an inch behind this wall. An inch,
Okay.
it's not thick.
I will. Are there any tools nearby? I'm in the basement of sorts. Can't imagine.
Not necessarily within arm's reach, but yes, in the basement, you could wander into a maintenance area for sure and just grab a hammer or a crowbar or a screwdriver.
Anything that I can use to kind of weasel away and
You're just gonna start chipping away at it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna just make a roll. Are you doing it recklessly, just tearing away huge chunks? Or are you trying to chisel it in a way?
I think it's just finding the hook of a crowbar or and just kind of just. There's no
sliding
reason
it down the crack.
Yeah,
essentially.
It's just trying to find what is seamless. I don't want to damage or injure whatever this could be. I know it might be steel, but still.
No, for sure. Okay, give me. You don't have any points in athletics, so it'll be a straight strength check. I was going to ask for a strength athletics check here. Whoa,
that's
a bestial failure. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And you can't re-roll that because what's your hunger at?
I can't. Hunger is 3.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, just enough to be a pain in the ass. So, as you leverage this crowbar into it and you begin to slide it, it immediately hits on a snag. And we see as you step back, you try to again replace it and go down with a little bit more force. And you're hitting this metal snag that seems to be jutting out even further than the rest of it. Again, giving you maybe a half inch instead of an inch of wiggle room there. And as you slide it through that half inch and then through again, you end up sliding it and jamming it into a crevice, not from the wall, the concrete wall, but a weird crevice or a wedge where the metal is. Seems to be 2 pieces of metal that are not fully touching, where the crowbar is slid into, and due to the kind of wonky force you gave it, got stuck. And you'll need to make a strength brawl to free it completely.
Okay, that's just another strength check. 2 successes, actually.
You're actually able to get the crowbar out, but not without ripping out a solid 1 foot long, 6 foot maybe tall piece of that concrete with it that tears free and falls to the ground, making a large sound as it lands with a heavy thud and cracks into 2 as it hits the concrete floor. But it gives you a very clear view of a steel. You can see where you got your crowbar stuck. It's the hinge. It's the area between the door frame and a steel door. You're looking at a narrow piece of what's clearly a steel door behind this piece of concrete wall.
All right, interesting. Then I'll do. I'll take however long it takes to remove the rest of the brick.
You can start chipping it away. Sure. I'm going to ask for a roll that makes no sense right now. Can I get a resolve composure check?
3 successes.
So you actually chip away at this relatively quickly and with nobody interrupting. Nobody swings down here. It's too noisy. There's the sounds of the boiler and all that shit down here. Never mind mixed with the voices upstairs. And anybody coming to the way back would have to be coming for something very specific, as most of the supplies are kept much closer to where you enter the basement from. And as you do peel it away, what you do see is a very plain steel door. It's bolted all the way from the bottom through its door frame and out, and then it's got cross sections of metal in the door itself that are also steel bolted. And at the very center, there's no door handle. It's a valve, like a wheel that you would use to turn.
Can I try? Is there anything that I could roll to determine either locationally or for the purpose of this? Any kind of roll?
Immediately, I would even say you don't have to make a roll. Immediately, this is on the outskirts of the hotel, so it's already dubiously whatever is past here is likely going to go beyond the bounds of the hotel itself. What was the other question?
Just determining what this could be for, or if maybe if there's even any sort of like locks or protection on the door itself.
There is, as you look around, there's no doors, lock, or protection, but you imagine that the wheel itself is probably incredibly difficult to turn. It looks old. It's been sitting, no one's chipped. It's been, you don't even know how old that concrete was that's been plastered over this door.
Sure. Okay.
I will also say it's clearly not part of the original hotel design.
Right. But it was old. The brick was old.
I mean, the Blackstone Hotel was built in the 1910s.
Yeah.
So at any point through there to now.
Okay. I mean, I want to, is there any way that I can create some sort of like a fulcrum to help rotate, something that might assist in the leverage of this?
You got a crowbar. You could wedge that in there and then use your weight to use that as like a bar. And I would say that would give you an extra 1d10 to your, no, I would say that gives you an extra 2d10 to your strength brawl roll.
I got 3 successes.
You did. And so you do, do you take your crowbar, you think for a second, it's like a physics puzzle. You slide it into the valve turner thing itself. You get your shoulder underneath it. And as you use your legs as well and your entire body's upper strength, you actually do have to give it a bit of a push. This is maybe even surprising for a kindred with an abnormally high strength, even though you are not the strongest kindred in the bunch by any stretch. There's still a bit of an effort you have to put behind this before it eventually goes. And the wheel never gives way. It is an equal amount of effort the entire time that you have to turn this until you do an entire 2 full rotations and you hear a bolt slowly sliding out on that last rotation in that between the door frame and the wall. As you crank it, it's a grinding of metal against metal, screeching until it comes to a halt, and you can feel a little bit of a burst of wind kind of escape from the door frame's outer edges and gust through you.
Okay. It's weird to either as external air or it's like a vacuum seal. Sure. I will delicately try to swing the door open. I'll free the crowbar just in case I need it for whatever reason. And then I will take a greater look at this.
As you pull back, it doesn't require any roll for you to pull the door back. As you pull it back, you can feel the rest of wind just kind of gently fall through the now open doorway, and it maintains. It's very gentle, but you can feel it on your face, on your fingertips. A small bit of chill wind that seems to be flowing through this doorway that leads to it's a ladder that just goes down. Metal ladder, not wooden, and it's clearly a shaft that's been man-made into the rock that goes down into pitch darkness.
I'll investigate further.
Okay. Do you have anything that creates light?
I have a lighter.
Sure. All right. So you do that when you get down there. So you get onto the ladder and you begin to go down one step at a time, the definitive noise of your foot sliding onto metal rungs as you descend. And you descend for a while. Not like 30 minutes or anything, but you get down, you descend the ladder for maybe 2 minutes or so, which is a still decent amount of time to climbing a ladder.
Would wear most people out for sure.
Absolutely. And as your foot touches the ground, you feel not dirt floor, hell, not even a rocky floor. Smooth tile. As you place your other foot down and turn, you don't have to worry about pulling out your lighter, as the scene before you is visible at this point. It's smooth tile on the floor because as you turn, you're looking down a prison hallway. On the right, cells, one after the other. On the left, a handlebar that runs up to your midsection that runs along the side as you're on the second floor of this prison. It may take a moment before you realize this familiar-looking prison.
Interesting.
You're not confused. You're not like lost or think you're somewhere you're not. You're well aware you were just in a hotel, walking down a ladder behind a strange steel door.
It's pretty well lit in here, though.
Oh, the prison is powered and lively. It's a familiar-looking prison because you once lived here.
I will tread carefully.
As you walk, you realize what seems to stick out, that weird bit of this isn't right. You can see guards walking. You can see prisoners in their cells. Hell, there's nowhere for you to hide. You're walking down the hall on the second floor openly, but nothing around you is making any noise whatsoever. The only thing that you hear are your footsteps on the floor below you. Everything else, though active and moving, is completely mute.
I'm going to try to make a noise, just like a small, just like like a throat clear, to see if that's also muted.
It is not. You hear yourself clearing your throat. Now, Duke has been playing with blood sorcery, studying, shall we say, blood sorcery for a bit. You're welcome to make me an intelligence occult roll with one specialty dice added to it for your knowledge of blood sorcery.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try that. 6.
You're aware, very aware, that there are multiple things that Kindred could do of varying different clans that can create illusions. One, Tremere can, for sure. There's multiple ways a Tremere can create an illusion. Everything from one that creates noise, that looks real, talks, all the way to ones that are extremely silent. And then you know of the clan Ravnos, those who are rather innate with the ability to create illusions at their will. Seems to be in their blood, but you've never really run across a Ravnos before. Either way, you're certain on some level that what you're seeing is not...
It's not real. It's some sort of illusion.
Yeah, it's something that's been placed. The question is just why? Did it trigger? Did you... There's a lot of questions, I'm sure.
I think I will move to my cell block and see if I can discover where I was once held in a formative life.
There's a familiarity with your steps, which is interesting. Because while certainly you were in this prison for quite some time, it's not as though you had free reign to run around or walk around where you wanted at all times. But you were an observant man. You watched the guards, their every shift, their every step, how they talked, how they walked. And so in a way, you mapped this place out over time in your own mind, even the places you'd never been before. And so with that certainty behind your step, you find your cell within minutes. What catches you off guard is when you turn to your cell and, for others, did you keep your cell looking in a particular way when you were once a resident of it? It
was controlled. Everything was controlled. Everything had a place. Everything was homed, delicately so.
When you turn to that, it's simple. Your bed's made. Your cell is clean. Your desk is neat. There's a little light on over there for you. You don't see yourself, nor do you see an empty cell. What you see is a man with disheveled, salt and pepper hair, a neatly trimmed beard, and he's facing the corner with one arm outstretched as he's drawing with his finger over a brick. A weird symbol over and over again. It's not appearing on the brick, however. He simply seems to be tracing it with his index finger. He's maybe 5'5", 5'6". Can I get an intelligence? Is there history in this? As I remember, or is it just academics again? Let's see. Yeah, I think it's academics. And you would get a specialty 1 on this before you roll.
4 successes.
You spent a long time acquiring the papers of this place, looking into the history of this hotel, learning it from top to bottom, from the original creators before it was handed over to the people that it would eventually be named after. The Blackstones. You believe as you're looking and watching him nervously tilt his head, repeatedly drawing symbols, in his button-down shirt that has the first 3 buttons undone and dress pants but wearing no shoes, only socks, that you're looking at. The individual this hotel is named after.
Is there any sound coming from the cell?
What's awareness?
4 successes.
Yes. It's very, 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 very subtle. You can, 1, hear the sound of his finger tracing on the concrete. But moreover, you think you hear muttering. Maybe him?
What symbol can I follow it with my mind's eye and sort of picture what the symbol is?
Yes, you can. Go ahead and give me an intelligence blood sorcery roll because you have points in blood sorcery.
4 successes.
Ooh, beautiful. 4 successes, enough to not only recognize the shape in which he's seems to be drawing, but that he is actually drawing something with detail. It's not just a repeated shape. He's repeating the drawing over and over. And initially, you just think it's a symbol for. Is it a symbol for? No, it's not. It's a circle. What? Oh, the Ouroboros. Not an infinity symbol, not an infinite circle, but a snake eating its own tail.
Knowing what I know, I will break the silence. Excuse me, sir.
As he's drawing, his finger stops. He does not turn around. Inches behind you, whispered into your ear, you hear a voice. What do you want? And as you whip around, or turn your head, maybe Duke doesn't really whip around as much as he's calculated and controlled and slowly turns his head, you see that same man right next to you, inches behind you. And if you look back to the cell, you too still see him there, his finger frozen for a moment.
I have found my way into a hidden, how do I describe this? A labyrinth, I believe, underneath the black stone.
You hear echoed in the distance, not another person, but the voice that belongs to the individual speaking. It reverberates through the seemingly empty, silent corridors, even though there's activity. And you just hear him, somebody shout in the distance, "Criminal!" Before the man that was inches behind you simply shakes his head. Is that where we are?
This was my original holding cell in Folsom, California.
Your doing. And then the one in the cell turns his head and goes, his doing, before somebody out in the way distance goes, impossible!
It's true. It's my doing. I escaped past life.
The man who's inches from you turns his head to the side, and as he does, a face that is also his doesn't turn simultaneously. It seems to stretch like gum as it turns over to the side, and then the one whose face doesn't turn steps out of the individual whose head is turned, as that individual seems to walk away, and the individual now in front of you, still looking at you, looks you up and down, almost sizes you up, but he doesn't say anything.
It was a past life. My name is Duke, and you were a previous owner of this establishment. Not here, not this place, but above.
He goes, yes, here. And the person in the cell goes, yes, this place. And then you hear an echo, and this time.
It was a different time. It was a different place.
The one close simply calmly says, so why are we here?
It's an interesting question. I didn't expect to find this here.
He looks around and then looks over, and his head begins to move at a speed that even you are having a hard time to track before it settles and looks at you. Places of settled emotional stability, waves. Time. Don't arrive here. He tilts his head, and yet you think, you're certain, you know. And then another voice again echoes, he never knows that this place is a place where you once were.
It's true. I believe this was a resolution to a past life, to a series of mistakes, a series of issues where I was born out of my own time, out of my own place. It was because of a gift that was gifted to me by my sire. He offered me a chance to fill some shoes that I felt I belonged, and I've fallen in.
Then who is? And he looks over to the cell, and the individual in the cell says, that. And as he turns, he actually turns, and when he fully faces you, he's no longer him. He's you. Completely and utterly. He steps a few steps forward and brings his face to the bars, looking at you passively, stoically, with awareness.
4.
There's a good 30 seconds. Does Duke step up and also get close? Or does he stay kind of where he's at, like a 5? I would imagine he's like a couple feet away.
Yeah, just arm's length.
You look into the eyes of this other individual for a long time. And for us as viewers, we pull away to get a nice profile shot of the two. Indistinguishable. To our eyes, anyway. But not to Duke's. You know your face. Better than anyone ever could. And while for a moment, there truly is a uncanny resemblance, you notice something that nobody else would. A small scar that's missing entirely. What that means to Duke could be just a failed simulacra, a poor attempt at mimicking you to scare you by this person, until as you turn around or even look to your side, a figure is just behind you. Not the individual that you've been seeing, not yourself, but Cesar.
I look back to the man with the messy hair,
who's still standing there.
This is not who I am in the cell. I know I can determine the difference. It's quite believable. cover, a mock, if you will. But it's not me. And that man, pointing to Cesar, that man is the one who offered me a return, an opportunity, in finding life the way that I was supposed to from the beginning.
The man with messy hair nods emphatically. Seems to be truly intently listening. Interesting. I wonder then, what's next? And he looks over and you see Cesar. He seems to be looking at Cesar, but now Cesar has an individual on his left. He's quickly speaking to a guard and sending the guard on his way. And to his left is a tall man. Though he doesn't look very familiar to either yourself, doesn't look familiar to anyone. And as he leans in, you can actually hear Cesar's voice, speaking to the man on his left. For the next hour, you'll sit in the cell with this man. He will tell you everything about himself. And you will remember everything. He looks over and nods, and he whistles. A guard comes over and unlocks the gate. As he sends him in, and the gate shuts behind him, the scene completely changes as the visions around you shatter. Now you are surrounded, not by a cell, but a familiar-looking bedroom. Or rather, not a familiar one for you. An ancient-looking bedroom in a place that certainly has been around much, much longer than the hotel. Old inlay bricks line the walls. And on your left as you walk, a velvet curtain that you pull back to reveal a gorgeous, velvet, comfortable bed. And at the foot of the bed, a beautiful painting of a landscape of what seems to be any generic field, but beautifully done. But on the bottom right, a small figure. What's interesting is that as you look at the figure, trying to figure out who it could be or if there's details, your eyes refuse to cooperate. It is a figure that is out of focus, almost permanently. And as you turn around to look to where you came from, you see the man with disheveled hair.
What is this?
We're back.
So this is home.
Home? He looks around again, and as he does, a voice from behind you. Yes, home.
Do I recognize this place?
You haven't been down here, right?
Correct.
So no. Again, you do recognize the man.
Do I still see the multiple forms of him?
Mm-hmm. 2 of them right now. One behind you, one in front of you.
Who am I looking at right now in this picture, this figure here?
He looks around, both of them look to the picture, but only one approaches. And he gently brings his hand and caresses the frame. I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, then why are you?
And as he turns around, he goes, I don't. And as he goes to say no, he vanishes. Not in a dust cloud, not in a ash cloud. In a blink, and he's just not there anymore.
Why are you showing me this?
The one who's left, the one from behind you. Because you are the proprietor now, are you not?
I'm partial owner.
He shakes his head. And then you hear a voice. You don't see a figure, but you hear a voice, reverberating very similarly. There is no partial ownership of the Blackstone.
So then what does that mean for you? What will you have me for?
Why do you want this place?
I wanted this place for her. For them.
For love?
No. For admiration. For care. I thought a parting gift in case I were to leave.
Everyone always leaves. When will somebody just stay?
Why do we have to stay?
Because then it was for nothing.
And if I were to stay, what would that mean?
To imply that you would also take ownership of this place.
Why does ownership of this place matter?
Because it's the contract. Bound by his blood.
By whose blood?
The owner.
Yours.
He shakes his head. I'm not supposed to be here.
And who are you?
I built this place.
And why are you here?
Because I am this place.
If I remain an owner, functioning proprietor of the Blackstone,
then I'll no longer be alone.
And you'll no longer hide.
He nods.
Why are you in the basement? Why did I find you there? Why could I not find you elsewhere?
This is where I died.
How did you die?
Vera Volkov, Max, and Robert finished the rituals as they needed to in 1963. And now I need you, it seems, to agree to the final terms.
And what will those final terms become resolution for? Will you stay here, or is there something else?
He looks around. I am always here. I am here.
And how would I finish this ritual?
Just agree?
I simply can't agree to your terms without knowing what that means. Contracts are important. They're fact.
You bind yourself to this place until such a time where your death comes. Or you find a way to unbind yourself.
And how will this binding affect me?
He shakes his head. Little. Initially. Should you spend too long away from Blackstone, it'll begin to call you.
And what will it offer me while I'm here?
A suite of knowledge. Past, present. I've existed in this place for a long time. The names of people who have come through, the conversations they've had, the conversations they have now. I can hear it all.
And do you still hold conversation with Vera Volkov, with Maxwell, and with Robert?
You wouldn't understand. But for simplicity, yes.
And you offer them the same thing?
No. They served their purpose. They did what they were always going to do. I died in 1963. By their hand. As I always was meant to.
And if I agree and stay and bind myself, compounding myself here as one of the bricks in the wall, the mortar of the Blackstone, you'll continue offering them service or simply myself?
Should you wish them to have service, then yes.
Very well. Extend my hand.
And he reaches out. And as he does, and you shake, you watch as it begins from his feet. His very essence melting like the Wicked Witch of the West. But instead of to a puddle, he slowly begins to congeal into a pool of blood. He begins to seep into the cracks of the hotel foundation, and without a drop left, slither themselves into the actual building cracks away, leaving only a simple ring in your hand, metallic, cool to the touch, with the initials TB on the inside.
TB.
On the outside, a familiar-looking symbol, that of the clan Toreador.
Interesting. Does this room still remain? Does this appear
It does.
as it once was, this beautiful suite?
It does. It remains as is. Do you slide the ring on?
Yeah. I think Duke would slide the ring on, yes.
As you slide the ring on, you watch as it seems to just fit to the size of your finger, matching whatever size it seems to need be. It was certainly way too small initially, but as you slide it on, it fits perfectly. And initially, the first thing that happens is an overwhelming sound of a cacophony of whispers, deafening on all sides. But those all begin to come to a focal point, almost as though they're all being funneled into a specific spot, that of your ring. And when they do go silent, you can still hear echoed whispers, but you can almost, with a simple thought, separate them. And you begin to think about the mirror. And instantly you begin to hear a cacophony of whispers talking about exactly what the mirror is. A leftover parting gift from a kindred in 1931 whose only hope was to never be forgotten, and in doing so, creating a way to walk through time, if only briefly. Except it was all contorted when it was left in the Blackstone. It became part of the Blackstone. It seems the Blackstone takes hold and changes whatever's left into it to serve itself. Initially, it was only supposed to work with the blood of the kindred who gifted it.
Oh, interesting.
The basement, as far as where you're at right now,
Yes.
this was here before the hotel was built. This was discovered by Blackstone himself.
Then I'm going to start trying to find my way out of wherever I am.
Absolutely. There's basically where you came from and then another way.
Yeah.
As you go down that way, it's actually just a steel door that you can leave to a short hallway that leads up into a small area before leading into the main first floor. So it's like a nice kind of a back entrance that only, if you were brought out that way, you would only really kind of know was out here. But as you do begin to make your way up there, as you make your way up the stairs, behind you, you actually hear Vera's voice. And you hear Robert and Max just from the room you just came from. And as you turn and you look down next to the bed, you see them all standing there, a little confused and seemingly talking about being in different times. And right as Duke is about to say something, or perhaps as he makes his first step, we can cut to black, and we'll pick up next week to see exactly where Sean is, as he's also by his lonesome. Thank you so much for everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.